Hello and welcome to the most awaited FTR by competition community, especially for English medium aspirants. My name is Pokhrajgiri and in this FTR session, I'll be dealing with Chhattisgarh General Studies. And let me tell you, for this FTR session, I have actually selected the questions from local administration, that too the rural one in Chhattisgarh. Now, before moving forward, there is an important announcement for you people that we at Competition Community, we are organizing weekly tests that will be held on every Sunday at 11 a.m. So what you people have to do, you people have to actually register yourselves on our websites by Friday evenings so that you people are able to write the test that will be held on Sunday. So this was all about the announcement, and let us move to the questions now. Here we have our first question. What is not correct about Gram Sabha? So first of all, the emphasis has to be laid on the word not. We have to actually tell which of these statements are actually incorrect in regards to the Gram Sabha. Now, what exactly is this Gram Sabha? Let me actually tell you that it is actually a permanent body which actually comprises of people whose names are there in the electoral or voter list of one or more than one villages. Now actually we have seen that in case of Gram Sabha, the people whose name are actually in the voter list, they actually comprise the Gram Sabha, and there are no elected members in Gram Sabha, and hence the tenure of Gram Sabha will never end, and so this is called as the permanent body. Now, when talking about the meetings, so let me first tell you, the meeting of Gram Sabha is actually chaired by Sarpanch. However, in his absence, it is chaired by Up Sarpanch. Now, in the case of absence of both Sarpanch and Up Sarpanch, this meeting is actually chaired by any person who is actually present in the Gram Sabha meeting and is elected by the majority to actually preside over that meeting. Now, if we talk about the Gram Sabha in the scheduled areas, in that case, the meeting is always chaired by a ST person, such that that ST person should not be the member of Panchayat. And let me also tell you that this ST member is actually a member present in the meeting and is elected by majority to actually preside over that meeting. So we actually know in the absence of Sarpanch, Up Sarpanch can actually preside over the meeting. Now, looking at the options, in the option A we have meeting is presided over by the Sarpanch. So I have already told you that meeting is actually presided over by Sarpanch, and hence this option A is correct. In the option B, it says in the absence of Sarpanch, the Up Sarpanch presides over the meeting. So this is what I have already told you, that in case of absence of Sarpanch, Up Sarpanch presides over the meeting, and hence this option B is also correct. In the option C, it says it has a term of 5 years. I have already told you that Gram Sabha is a permanent body. So how come it will have any tenure? And this option C is incorrect. Now, talking about option D, it says it has the power of social audit. Yes, Gram Sabha indeed has the power of social audit of all the works of the Gram Panchayat. For example, if we talk about Manrega, if the work of Manrega is actually going on in any of the Gram Panchayat, then the detailed documents related to that works can actually be put in the Gram Sabha meeting, and hence we can say that Gram Sabha actually has the power of the social audit, and in this case option D is going to be correct. Now what we have to tell? We have to tell which of the options is not correct. We have actually seen option C is incorrect, and hence this option C is going to be the correct option for this question number 1. So this was all about the first question. Now we have a second question. What is not correct about the Janpat Panchayat president? Option A says president of Janpat Panchayat is the ex officio member of the district panchayat. Now, to actually look into this option, we have to go into the detailed structure of district panchayat. So it actually comprises of, first of all, elected members who are directly elected from the constituencies. Then we have members of Lok Sabha, such that their constituency should not be entirely urban. That means their constituency has to be rural. Now, understand this with the help of an example. For example, there is a constituency. Let us say, for example, any of the district. Let us say Raipur district. And in this Raipur district, there are 2 Lok Sabha constituencies. One is urban constituency and one is rural constituency. Let me tell you, this is just an example. It is not right. It is just an example. So, the member of rural constituency, or I should say, the Lok Sabha member elected from this rural constituency will only be the member of the district panchayat. So the member of Lok Sabha such that whose constituency is not entirely urban. Let me also tell you, in present condition of Raipur, in the Raipur district, we have only one constituency, and that constituency is not completely urban. So it is somewhat rural also, and hence in case of Raipur, the Lok Sabha member from Raipur will also be the ex officio member of district panchayat. Now, then we have members of Rajya Sabha, such that the name of the member in the voter list should feature in any of the Gram Panchayats inside that district panchayat. So we have seen members of Lok Sabha such that the constituency must not be entirely urban, and member of Rajya Sabha such that the name of that member of Rajya Sabha should actually feature in the voters list in any of the Gram Panchayat of that district panchayat which we are talking about. For example, talking about Raipur. Now from Raipur we have, let's say, X and Y, 2 members of Rajya Sabha. Now, the name of member X features from Municipal Corporation area of Raipur, while the name of member Y actually features in any of the villages in the Raipur district. Then only the member Y will actually become the ex officio member of the district panchayat. Next, we have members of Legislative Assembly such that their constituency may it fully or partially lie in that district, but it also cannot be completely urban. Now, next we have all the members of Janpad or Block Panchayat that actually lies inside this district panchayat area. For example, let us say Raipur. So this is the district panchayat area of Raipur, and in this district panchayat area we have 4 block panchayats. So the presidents of all these block panchayats will all be ex officio members of this Raipur district panchayat. And finally we have 2, that is 1 male and one female disabled person who will actually be nominated by the state government. So this is actually the structure of district panchayat. So now we actually know that all the presidents of Janpat Panchayat are actually the ex officio members of their respective district panchayats, and hence this statement A is actually correct. Now, in the statement B, we have Janpat Panchayat president is elected via direct elections. So let me tell you, the members of Janpat Panchayat are elected directly. However, the president and vice president are elected indirectly by the directly elected members. So the mode of election for the president of Janpat Panchayat is actually indirect and not direct, and hence this option B is incorrect. Next we have option C, the term is of 5 years. Indeed, the term is of 5 years from the date of first meeting, and hence this option C is correct. Now, in the option D, we have can be removed from the post by the motion of no confidence. So, in case of Janpat Panchayat, for the removal of president and vice president, we actually have a provision of no confidence motion. To bring about any such motion, 3/4 majority of present and elected members is needed, and to pass such a motion, 2/3 majority of total elected members is needed. So actually we know that no confidence motion can be used to remove president and vice president of the Janpat Panchayat from their posts respectively, and hence this option D is going to be correct. Now what we have to tell in the question, we have to tell which is actually not correct. So we have seen this option B is actually not correct, and hence this option B is going to be the right answer for this second question. Now next we have a third question. Which of the following is not right about Gram Panchayat? Starting from the option D, minimum number of constituencies is 10. Let me tell you, in case of Gram Panchayat, number of wards is actually between 10 to 20. So minimum is 10. What exactly has been said in option D, and hence this option D is actually correct. Now regarding the meeting, I'll tell you, it is a compulsion to have one meeting every month, and the quorum required to convene such meeting would be actually 1/2 of the total membership. So in the option C, we have quorum is half of the total membership. Yes, it is correct. In the option B, we have it is compulsory to have a meeting every month. We have seen this is also correct. Now in the option A, it says the election of Sarpanch is indirect. Let me tell you, the election of Sarpanch is actually direct, while in case of Up Sarpanch it is actually indirect. So the election of Sarpanch is actually direct in nature and not indirect, and hence this option A is going to be incorrect. And what we have to tell in the question, we have to actually tell which of the following is not right. So we know that option A is not right, and hence this option A is the correct option for our question number 3. Now next we have a fourth question. Which of the following is not correctly matched in relation to the elections? So let me tell you, the mode of election for Sarpanch is direct. The mode of election for Up Sarpanch is indirect. For that of Panch, once again is direct. For that of Janpat Panchayat member is direct, and for that of District Panchayat president is actually indirect. So now let's actually form groups depicting direct and indirect modes of election. So in the direct ones we have Sarpanch, Panch and Janpat Panchayat member. That means we have 1, 3 and 4. While in case of indirect we have 2 and 5. Now what we have to actually tell in the questions, we have to tell which of the following are not correctly matched. So we have two groups, 1, 3, 4 and 2, 5. These are actually not correctly matched. Looking at the options, we have 1, 3, 4, but we don't have 2 and 5. Now some of you would actually say that 2 and 5 is also correct. I completely agree. 2 and 5 is also correct. But since 1, 3, 4 is also correct and it is given in the options, so primarily we have to select 1, 3, 4 and not none of these. Because some of you might actually get confused that since 2 and 5 is also correct and it is not given, so we can actually take none of these. We could have taken none of these, but if this 1, 3, 4 was also not given, in that case none of these could have been the option. But since 1, 3, 4 is given, we have to actually choose 1, 3, 4 which is given in the option B, and hence this option B is going to be the correct option for our fourth question. Now next we have our fifth question. Which of the following statements is our right? Now in the statement 1 we have a voter may contest for the elections of Panch and Sarpanch simultaneously. So let me explain this question to you with the help of an example. For example, I reside in a district named D, and this district actually has a district panchayat. Now in this district there are 4 blocks and each block actually has a block panchayat. Name is BP 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now I actually happen to live in block panchayat 1 area and I have a village over there by the name V. So what I can do, I can contest the elections of Panch and Sarpanch from my village. I can contest the elections for block panchayat member from my block, and I can contest the elections of the member of district panchayat from any of the wards to which I belong in this district where I actually reside. So I can simultaneously contest for the elections of Panch, Sarpanch, for block panchayat member and for district panchayat member. But what I can't do is, I can't actually contest the election of Panch from 2 different constituencies. Same thing goes on with the election of Sarpanch also. I cannot contest the elections for Sarpanch from 2 different constituencies, that means from 2 different villages. I even can't contest the elections for a Janpat Panchayat member from 2 constituencies, and I even can't contest for the elections of the member of Zilla Panchayat from 2 different constituencies. So I can contest simultaneously for different posts, but I cannot contest for a single post simultaneously from many constituencies. So this is the basic concept behind this. Now, in the first statement, we have a voter may contest for the elections of Panch and Sarpanch simultaneously. Yes, I can contest the elections of Panch from my ward in my village and from the entire village for this election of Sarpanch. Hence, this first statement is correct. Now, in the second statement, we have a voter can contest for the Panch from 2 different wards. This is what I have told you. I cannot contest for a single post from 2 different constituencies, and hence this statement 2 is going to be incorrect. Now in the third statement, a voter can contest for the post of Sarpanch from 2 Gram Panchayats. I have already told you this cannot happen. This statement is also going to be incorrect. Statement 4. A voter can contest the elections for Sarpanch and Janpat Panchayat members simultaneously. Yes, it is possible, because for Sarpanch, I will actually contest, or anybody will actually contest from any of the Gram Panchayats, and for Janpat Panchayat, you will have a separate ward from where you can actually contest the election. So this statement 4 is also correct. Statement 5, a voter can contest the elections for Janpad Panchayat member and district Panchayat member simultaneously, just like statement 4. Statement 5 is also correct. Now statement 6, a voter can contest the elections for Janpad Panchayat member from 2 different constituencies. No, not possible from 2 different constituencies, hence statement 6 is incorrect. Same thing happens with the statement 7 also, where it says a voter may contest the elections of district Panchayat members from 2 different constituencies. I have already told you, from 2 different constituencies it is not possible to actually contest in a single election. In the statement 8, it says a voter may contest the elections for Sarpanch and district Panchayat members simultaneously. Yes, it is possible, because for the election of Sarpanch you will have a separate Gram Panchayat, and for the election of district Panchayat member you will have a separate ward. So what we see, statement 1, 4, 5 and 8, they are actually correct. 1, 4, 5 and 8 are actually correct. And in the question we have been asked which of the following are actually right. So 1, 4, 5, 8 are actually right, and it is mentioned in the option D, and hence this option D is going to be the correct option for our 5th question. Now next we have our 6th question. Which of the following statements regarding the structure of district panchayat is correct? So in the question number 2, I have dealt the structure of district panchayat in detail. However, let's see it once again. Elected members from constituencies, yes, there are members directly elected from the constituencies. Now the second statement says all members of Lok Sabha who are elected from the district. No, not all members. Only the members whose constituencies are not entirely urban, and hence this statement too is going to be incorrect. Third statement says all the members of Rajya Sabha who have been elected from the district. Once again I told you, in case of members of the Rajya Sabha, the name should actually feature in the voter list of any of the Gram Panchayats and not the municipal corporations, and hence this statement is going to be incorrect. Statement 4, all the presidents of Janpad Panchayat, yes, we have seen this. Statement 5, all the members of Legislative Assembly, no, because only the members of Legislative Assembly such that their constituency is not completely urban, which is actually mentioned in the statement 6, and hence this statement 6 is going to be correct. So 1, 4 and 6 are actually correct. And in the question we have to tell which of the following are correct. 1, 4, 6 is actually mentioned in the option D, and hence this option D is going to be the correct option for our 6th question. So this was all about the 6th question. Now let's move to our 7th question. Who has the right to vote in the elections of Vice President of Janpad Panchayat? So let me tell you, only the members of the Janpad Panchayat who are directly elected from the constituencies are allowed to vote in the elections of the Janpad Panchayat Vice President. And this is actually mentioned in the option B, wherein it says directly elected members of the Janpad Panchayat, and hence this option B is going to be the correct option for our 7th question. So this was all about the 7th question. Now we have our 8th question. What is right about the security deposit to contest in the elections? So let me tell you, for Panch it is rupees 50, for Sarpanch it is rupees 1000, for Janpad Panchayat member it is 2000, and for the member of district Panchayat it is actually 4000. So we have 50, 1000, 2000 and 4000. 50 rupees for Panch, 1000 for Sarpanch, 2000 for member of Janpad Panchayat and 4000 for the member of Zilla Panchayat. However, if the person belongs to any of the reserved categories, that is SC, ST, OBC or women, then this security deposit becomes actually 50% or 1/2, or I should say half. But the actual security deposit is 50, 1000, 2000 and 4000. Let me also tell you, if it is directly specified in the question that what exactly is the security deposit for the reserved categories, then you actually have to consider half the values. But if nothing has been specified in the question, then this actually will be the correct answer. Now 50 rupees is mentioned in 1,000 is mentioned in statement number 3. 2,000 rupees is mentioned in statement number 6 and 4,000 rupees is mentioned in statement number 8. So what has to be the correct answer? The correct answer has to be 1, 3, 6 and 8. So what is going to be the correct answer? 1, 3, 6, 8, which is actually mentioned in the option D, and hence option D is going to be the correct option for this question number 8. Now we have a ninth question. From which date the tenure of Gram Panchayat is actually calculated? So let me tell you, after the elections, there is the declaration of the election results. And this election result is actually published in the State Gazette. Now, after publishing, it is within a period of 30 days when the Panchayat Secretary actually calls a meeting of Panchayat. And this is actually known as the first meeting. And it is from this first meeting that the tenure of the Gram Panchayat is calculated. So now looking at the options, in the option A we have from the date of declaration of Panchayat election results. No, it is not correct. B, from the date of notification. No, it is not correct. C, from the date of swearing in ceremony. No, it is not correct. D, from the date of first meeting. This is what I have told you. It is calculated from the date of first meeting, which is actually mentioned in the option D, and hence this option D is going to be the correct option for our ninth question. And finally, we have a 10th question. How can the Up Sarpanch of Gram Panchayat be recalled? Now, let me tell you, there is this right to recall, and it is actually valid for Sarpanch and Panch. However, there is a provision of no confidence motion, and it is for the removal of Sarpanch and Up Sarpanch. However, let me tell you, Up Sarpanch is what? He or she is nothing but a punch only from any of the wards who was eventually indirectly elected as Up Sarpanch of the Gram Panchayat. However, this right to recall is specifically mentioned for recalling the Sarpanch and Panch only, and not the Up Sarpanch. For the purpose of removal of Up Sarpanch, we have a provision of no confidence motion and not the right to recall. And for this right to recall, actually 1/3 of the members of Gram Sabha actually have to give in writing. And when such a motion receives more than half of the votes of the total number of members of the Gram Sabha, then the post of the Sarpanch is actually deemed to be vacant. However, in the case of Panch, it is not the Gram Sabha but the individual ward. That means from the entire Gram Sabha, Sarpanch can be recalled. But for recalling the Panch, it is actually done in the specific ward from where the Panch has been elected. However, regarding this no confidence motion, we have already seen 3/4 and 2/3, and this is actually used for the removal of Sarpanch and Up Sarpanch. Now coming back to the question, how can the Up Sarpanch of Gram Sabha be recalled? Now we know he cannot be actually recalled. He actually has to be removed via this no confidence motion. So recalling him is actually not possible. Now in the options we have by simple majority, by absolute majority, by 2/3 majority, everything apart. Can he or she be recalled? No, he or she cannot be recalled. However, can be removed with the help of no confidence motion. So what is going to be the correct option for this 10th question? The correct option for this 10th question is going to be option D, none of these, because the Up Sarpanch of Gram Panchayat cannot be recalled. Hence, this option D is going to be the correct option for our 10th question. So these were 10 some of the important and most conceptual questions from the rural local administration of Chhattisgarh. I'll be back in my next video with the urban local administration of Chhattisgarh. I hope you people would have liked my video, and I shall meet you people in my coming videos. Tab tak ke liye thank you and take care.
CGPSC की संपूर्ण तैयारी के लिए कंपटीशन कम्युनिटी के YouTube चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और डेली अपडेट्स के लिए बेल आइकन को प्रेस करना ना भूलें।